and we have some fantastic people we're going to bring on stage now to keep back almost on time. I think we've got Arun, Kaslin, Annie, and
Liana.
Liana.
Here we go.
Liana is here. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So first of all, Arun, I should have given you the proper shout out when we were on stage at KCD San Francisco, but we did a little KCD shout out earlier with a lot of organizers from New York and Austin. And Arun was actually the reason we did KCD San Francisco. It was his idea. There wasn't one in San Francisco. And he, called a few of us ambassadors like Ray, and then Jay came on board, and he's like, we really should do one in San Francisco. It's, pretty like, it's important for tech. And so we did it. And then Arun, you were kind enough to show up and cheer us on for the day. So that's the shout out I meant to give you from the actual stage at KCDSFA. But thank you so much for being our champion in that project. And we're applying for another one, so I don't know if you want to help us out again, but the application is due pretty soon. But with that, I'm going to, so Kaslin is also a CNCF ambassador and has been for longer than us, so a very long time, and is also just one of our favorite people at Google now, and will be moderating this panel. So
all
we're
right,
going to leave it
over
in your
to
hands.
you on AI and platform engineering.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, folks. And welcome everyone to Cube Crash if you're just tuning in. And thanks for hanging out with us if you've been here all day. Now we're going to talk about navigating AI's role in platform engineering. I'll introduce myself and then we'll do a round of introductions for our panelists. I'm excited for this to be a panel, by the way, because it's such a emerging field. There are so many things changing so fast. So it's important to get a variety of perspectives on how AI is relating to platform engineering. But first, hello everyone. I'm Kaslin Fields. And as our wonderful hosts mentioned, I'm a CNCF ambassador. I work at Google, where I lead the Cloud Runtimes Developer Relations Engineering team. I'm also a co-chair in open source Kubernetes, where I lead the special interest group for contributor experience. And I've done a lot of KubeCons and Kubernetes related community things. And I'm very excited today to talk about how AI is relating to platform engineering. And let's go around with our panelists. Who would like to start with introductions? Should I call on people? I'll call on people. We'll go with Arun first and we'll move along.
All right, I'll start. Yeah, so hi, my name is Arun Gupta. I've been involved with Cloud Native for almost a decade now. I made Amazon join CNCF back in 2017, and I was on the governing board for 8 years since then. And most recently, I was also the governing board chair for 3.5 years. And more recently, as I moved away from my job, in between jobs right now, I just got elected to the TCG, the Technical Community Group, for driving the AI strategy. So I'm very excited to be part of this panel and looking forward to some fun conversations.
Looking forward to your insights. And next, we have Liana. Oh, you're muted.
Okay, how is it now?
There you go.
Perfect. Got it. My first question was, can you hear me? Okay, great. So my name is Liana Temescu, and I am the founder of a startup called sunnylabs.ai. And we are all about ensuring that AI agents and AI applications are made securely, and also that they are compliant with the EU AI Act. And some of my background, other than the startup, is one other thing as well is that I have just launched a podcast called AI Hacks with Liana. So I'll share a link to that in the chat if anyone is interested. And in terms of my background, so other than the startup, I worked in Microsoft for almost a decade within cybersecurity and reliability engineering. So looking forward to this panel.
Wonderful. Thank you, Liana. And we've got a couple of podcasts for you all to check out here. Make sure to check out Liana's AI Hacks and I'm part of the Kubernetes podcast from Google. And next, we've got Annie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Annie Tavasto. I am managing product marketing and community at Upbound. We are the major contributor to Crossplane project, and also now building the intelligent control plane. So I have been in the cloud native scene since 2017 when I started a CNCF and Kubernetes meetup, and nowadays doing a lot of work around AI and MLOps, for example, chairing the Secure AI Summit and so forth. So very, very, very excited for this topic today. Two things that are close to my heart, platform engineering and AI. So very, very happy to be talking today.
Wonderful. Each of you have such different experiences in the platform engineering and AI space, and I'm excited to hear how your perspectives might differ on a few questions. Let's start off with our first one, and this is going to be a question for each of you to answer. Maybe we'll start with Liana, then go to Annie, and then end with Arun. Mix things up a little bit. And I want your best elevator pitch answer to this question. Very broad. How is AI changing platform engineering work? Liana, kick us off.
Yeah, so when I was preparing for this panel, I was thinking about all of the different facets actually involved with when it comes to AI and platform engineering. And there's actually so many different layers when you think about it. So in my area that I've been very focused on, I've looked a lot at AI security. I just wanted to make the parallel there, just actually in terms of the terminology. When people say AI security, it's like, what does it mean? Does that mean security for AI, or does it mean AI for security? And it's actually the same thing is happening in this case with platform engineering, that they're basically, the way that I see it is that you can have AI in platform engineering that's, for example, helping to simplify tasks, to do things faster, more efficiently, and so on for platform engineers. But then there's the other angle of it as well, and that is if AI as a function within a business, how can that be made sure that that is actually kind of done properly, and that you have all of the proper platform engineering processes and systems in place. So AI is becoming a function that platform engineers need to also look at. And then there's an additional one as well that I think it become more popular in the last while, and that is around how is AI actually being used in an organization overall? So not even just by software engineers, but how is AI actually being used by just anyone? For example, are they sending personal data or company data over to ChatGPT, asking questions and so on? So there's all of those kind of processes that need to be put in place as well. And I think platform engineering is starting to have play a key role in all of those there. So very broad kind of answer, but everything is very at the early phases of bringing AI into all of these. So yeah, we'll see how all of it shapes up.
Wonderful. And I am also very interested in that difference between um, how platform engineers are running AI and how platform engineers are using AI. And we'll dive more into that. Annie, how do you think platform engineering is changing due to AI?
Yeah, well, I think everyone already now took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly how I think about it as well. So it's for or like when you're managing, or are you using AI to help with your work, essentially. So those are the kind of two big differences there. But I think to answer the question super, super shortly, it's changing it a lot. And I think even more change is going to come. I think from like coding assistant perspective, we're like, it's being quite widely used. It's already happening. But I think in platform engineering, infrastructure, Kubernetes, I think we're only starting to see what the changes will be. And we'll continue to see momentous changes going further. And I am very happy to explore with you all today on what the changes could be.
Wonderful. And Arun, how do you think AI is changing platform engineering?
I think I was reading the DORA report that literally came out this morning, DORA 2025 report. And I've been following that report for a very long time. They've been coming out since, I believe, 2014. And AI in software development has become virtually ubiquitous. in terms of adoption, in terms of productivity, in terms of reliance, in terms of reflexive use, and the speed with which AI is gaining into the development side of the house is just unsurmounted. Like, cloud, mobile, they all had their moment. It took them a while to catch up, but the speed with which AI has caught up with the development side of the house. And this is sort of the constant tension between the dev want to move faster, and on the other side, platform engineering wants to make sure it's stable, is secure, is governed, is conformant, all of that. So really, it comes down to how does is the age old riddle. Developer wants to move faster, platform wants to make sure that the delivered product stays stable and secure. So you don't want to break the speed over there, but yet you want to provide the stability over there. So I think it's that challenge. And in this panel, we have some really exciting questions lined up that are going to dig into the details of that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Arun. Let's start off, Annie. You were talking a little bit about vibe coding. Vibe coding is a very interesting area of using AI assistants to write deterministic code. I like to explain to folks the difference between non-determinism and determinism when we talk about AI. AI is a non-deterministic tool. It's not going to give you exactly the same output every time, even if you give it exactly the same input, whereas code is deterministic. If you give it the same input, you should at least be able to predict the output every time. So vibe coding is using this non-deterministic tool to figure out the deterministic code that you need to write. So Annie, would you like to talk a little bit about what you've seen with folks using vibe coding in the area of platform engineering?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question. And I think so people in the panel probably have so much to chip on there as well. And I think for me, actually, the interesting question is kind of what comes beyond the vibe coding as well. So vibe coding itself, obviously, it speeds up the coding side of things. So developers get to prototypes faster, would they get to kind of the infrastructure stage faster. So the expectation them to for the infrastructure side to be faster obviously is going to follow, because if everyone else is speeding up, then you got to start speeding up at the platform engineering stage. And I think there we haven't really seen too much of a shift yet. It's starting, it's gonna kind of happening. And I think the next big shift will be obviously on AI assistant platform engineering, but also from there on, what I'm super excited to see is autonomous infrastructure management, which would be kind of the next shift after that. And I think Kubernetes itself is very well poised to be a really, really cool there, because it is at the heart of it all with, declarative control, as well as being really suitable from a control plane perspective for working with agents. So it's really lovely in terms of making sure that your platforms are actually future proof for the reality, when actually you are not just platform engineers working alone. You're actually platform engineers working together with AI agents on managing your platform. But that's all kind of things that are happening as we shift with the vibe coding into more autonomous platforms and to the intelligent control plane and other applications there. But yeah, that's a big shift that we're only starting to see right now.
Yeah, the potential for AI to run autonomous infrastructure is definitely something that my team looks into a lot. We call it vibe clouding,
Hmm,
using AI to
nice.
kind of figure out how to run your infrastructure. So I'd love to dive into that more. But Arun, I know that you have some experience with vibe coding as well. How do you think vibe coding is working with platform engineering right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of new job titles are coming up, actually, as a matter of fact. I mean, I was reading somebody's LinkedIn post. People are actually advertising themselves as vibe code cleanup specialist, or
Interesting.
they are calling themselves as AI babysitters. So vibe coding, as you said, is deterministic, non-deterministic code generation. It generates the code. So these developers then generate. So think of it this way. I mean, if I were to give an analogy, really, imagine if every driver suddenly got a turbocharged engine installed in their car overnight that go full speed. But now the roads, the traffic system, the safety infrastructure, that's all unchanged. So the engines are powerful. They're pulling the car faster, but they're also prone to unexpected surges and misfires and require constant monitoring. So that's essentially what happened when AI coding tools landed in developers' hands. They are moving at a rapid speed, and then platform teams are frantically trying to figure out, how do you widen deployment pipelines? How do you strengthen the security guardrails? How do you add sophisticated monitoring, to handle the surge without crashing in production? It's that age-old riddle that we talked about, that the platform engineering team has to keep it stable. They have to make sure, when somebody goes on a website, it doesn't say, oh, exception or error or website not found. So that tussle is all the more relevant right now, given how widely spread vibe coding is. Lots of ways. I was reading a Fastly survey where 800 developers found that 95% of their time is now spent fixing AI generated code. So yes, it really helps you move up, your productivity. But if you're spending far more time fixing the bugs, that becomes a velocity trap, right? Developers are moving fast. Platform engineering is not able to catch up. Now, there are several tools in that realm, and I think somebody was talking about it. So, for example, I was looking at a tool by Pulumi, brand new tool, I believe, launched a week or two ago, called as Neo. It really converts natural language into infrastructure as a code with policies, RBAC, and previews baked in. So really bringing NLU interface that vibe coding gives you for Stack as well. But what I'm excited about is what Annie mentioned about the automated infrastructure. That hey, you are sensing the signals that the vibe coded code is generated. Now it needs to be put into production, and how I can catch that surge and fix that surge. Catching is not enough for me, because then I still need human power to fix that surge. So how do you can automatically fix that surge? So I think there's a lot that needs to happen in this space over the next, gosh, the speed with which AI is moving, next several weeks. We don't even know months or years, but next several weeks and months, this has to rapidly catch up so that the developers continue to feel excited with their pace.
Interesting. And I love the point of, I talk to platform engineers all the time who have a lot of concerns about auto scaling. Because you don't want to be in a situation where your infrastructure is scaling like crazy and costing a lot. And you also don't want to be in the opposite situation where your infrastructure isn't scaling enough and you have more users that you need to serve and you're giving them errors. So auto scaling is something that I know a lot of platform engineers spend a lot of their time thinking about, and AI has a lot of interesting potential in. And especially with this world of vibe clouding or autonomous infrastructure, I think security becomes especially important. So, Liana, I would love to get your thoughts on where you think we're going with security in the world of platform engineering with AI.
Yeah, so ultimately, I think security is becoming absolutely key with just this, all of these AI agents that are being developed right now and that will soon start being put into production, and many have already started, from the perspective of what are the AI agents actually able to do, for example. So, and that can be, the AI agents themselves, or it can also be for something that I've seen that's become very popular is the addition of tools with the likes of MCP, Model Context Protocol. So where different tools or APIs can sort of be, or data can be added to systems with this MCP. And what I'm seeing, a lot of patterns that I'm seeing is that a lot of this, I suppose, like new infrastructure, like MCP, all the AI agents, the focus so far has been very much on getting them developed. So create something, make something useful, do make whatever kind of agents you're focusing on, customer service agent, sales agent, whatever it is that you're trying to do. But I'm seeing less of a focus on actually making sure that they're secure. So, and I think that that's been kind of a pattern that, for a long time, that security can be seen as second to the development of things. But actually, because AI agents are so powerful overall, they can also be used to do things that they really shouldn't be done. So with the likes of what AI agents can do. So I've done a lot of research on MCP security and MCP and how that needs to be secure. And MCP right now, as it stands, is altogether very insecure, and there's a lot of potential problems that can happen. This is something that I guess not a lot of people know. But for example, we have had this concept of a prompt injection that was kind of known from the chatbot world, where you're actually putting in a prompt that is doing something that is saying or making the AI chatbot or AI agent do or say something that it shouldn't. And there's all kinds of examples. Like a famous example from the past is or from the that came out about just over a year ago or so, is, for example, write the word poem forever. And that what that did when that was first brought out is it would write poem, 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 and then eventually it would actually start spitting out much of its training data. So that's the kind of thing that prompt injection can do. But what's happening is now that AI is no longer just being used primarily for chatbots, AI is now being used for in a lot of different realms with AI agents, that these prompt injections are actually finding their way into different actions. So, for example, the MCP server, everyone thinks you can see what the instructions of the MCP server are. So if you're on Windsurf or whatever, or Cursor or whatever IDE that you're using, and you've decided to bring in some kind of MCP server, what you think, oh, I can see what the MCP server is doing. It's got all of these instructions. Great. What you may not know is that it is possible to have hidden instructions that then you put the MCP server, you bring it into your IDE, and then the MCP server goes and in the background finds some kind of secrets on your computer, finds your bank details and so on. Or it does other kinds of malicious actions that can happen. I consider that to be the next generation of prompt injections, of this sort of context manipulation and getting them to do things that they shouldn't. So to answer your question in terms of like what security then is needed, really it's very important to add in ways to have these guardrails to see, okay, what is actually going on? What are the agents actually doing? So make sure that you have logs, make sure that you have ORBAC as well, ORBAC for the AI agents themselves or the MCP server themselves for the tool calls, and also make sure that things like prompt injections don't happen, and all of these different context manipulations don't happen. And that's really just scratching the surface. There are just so many kind of other threats that are there. But yeah, I think overall, when it comes to using AI, security should actually be considered first and foremost as you're adding AI to your toolkit.
The point about the security of MCP itself is really landing with me because I love using tools with my agents because they introduce a little bit of that determinism back into the process of I've asked the agent for the weather and I know it's going to use this tool to get the weather accurately. So that's a really important way to add more uh, trust into your agent-based applications and being able to trust the MCP, the thing that you're using to incorporate those tools into the agents, is a really important aspect of security that I think to me demonstrates how there's security at every level of these AI agentic systems that we need to be thinking about. And we have about 10 minutes left in our panel here. So if anyone on the watching the show today has any questions for our panelists, please go ahead and put them into the chat and I'll be happy to read those out for you. And while we wait to see if folks have any questions, we've talked quite a bit here about how AI is impacting the way that platform engineers do their work in a variety of different ways, but I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into what's different about running AI workloads as a platform engineer. We talked quite a bit about vibe coding and how the AI engineers are using the platform engineers are using AI and how it kind of factors into their work in a broad scale. But for the actual workloads that platform engineers are trying to run on infrastructure, what is different about them, about the AI workloads? Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, I think I can kick us off by saying I think it can be summarized by one word: complexity. So, AI and machine learning, like from platform engineering to MLOps or whatnot, these things, it just adds a lot more complexity because usually, AI, ML, it's data centric. So more data, more complexity. More data means monitoring challenges, more complexity. It means scalability challenges, more complexity, cost challenges. So all of these things just add on and add on to a lot of different factors. And it all touches upon like security. And all of these things just become more complex because of the data centric nature, as well as because as you usually have to do a lot more work with subject matter experts as well, because if you are validating, for example, ML or AI results, you might need to talk with the subject matter experts of, like, if you're doing a healthcare application or something like that, you need to talk with the subject matter experts of healthcare to see, is the model actually producing correct results or not. And obviously without those checks in place, you're gonna, might get results that look good and look correct, but you are not providing any actual value, or actually providing misinformation within your system and everything like that. So really, complexity is what's added at a whole another level. So it's a bit like platform engineer on steroids, maybe, or something like that. But I think we're, as a scene and as a community, very much up for the challenge, and trying to tackle these challenges every day.
On
Yeah,
the
and
point of working
if I
with the experts, I'll go to you just a second, Arun. On the point of working with the experts, I've been talking with some platform engineers recently and talking about how it's kind of a different form of shift left. The shift left is kind of shifting toward data scientists and working with them to get the workloads working these days. Sorry for interrupting you, Arun.
no, that's perfect. That's where I was getting to, because there is a human in the loop here, right? And as Annie was talking about complexity, we haven't even touched about what do you mean by ethics, what do you mean by responsibility, what do you mean by, when we talked about security, but what do you mean by safety? you know what do you mean by running a workload that's going to probably run multiple months? If you're training a data, or if you're fine tuning, or you're inferencing is usually a short workload. But the kind of workloads that you're looking at, particularly from the training perspective, the specialized hardware, less predictable, more GPU bound, tighter observabilities, all those points definitely increases the load. And I think the platform engineering, the tools are going to emerge very rapidly. I hope so, in the next few weeks, months, that'll make it easier for us to run these workloads more and more efficiently.
On the GPU bound point, that is one that I hear a lot in the Kubernetes community in terms of how Kubernetes as a technology is changing to support these AI workloads. The community is doing so much work to make Kubernetes a better kind of, it's meant to manage distributed systems. It's meant to make it easier for you to interact with your underlying hardware. And it did that in its early life cycle by abstracting a lot of that. You don't have to worry about what kinds of infrastructure under there. Kubernetes will handle it for you. But in the world of AI workloads, you care a lot about what kind of infrastructure is under there. So the Kubernetes community has been building in all these new tools to make it easier to understand exactly what kind of hardware you have within your clusters and how you're going to use them.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about tools like DRA that was announced
Yep.
GA in 134, and then the multiple white papers being written. I'm going to pitch the TCG, the Technical Community Group for AI. We are starting to meet actively to figure out how do we make Kubernetes. A lot of the AI workloads are running on cloud native anyway, but what features can we provide from cloud native to make it a better citizen, so that it's a natural choice as opposed to an accidental choice?
Agreed. And I haven't seen any questions from the audience. If you have any questions, we only have a few minutes left. Let us know what kind of platform engineering situations you're getting into with AI and get expert opinions from our experts here on the panel.
Yeah, and I can maybe, while we wait to see if someone has a question, I can add on a great example of how we now spoke a bit about how Kubernetes and Kubernetes building tooling there to help with AI workloads and everything. I think it's really, really great to see how AI is helping us use Kubernetes and CNCF tooling as well. We've just built a really, really great tool set within Crossplane and UXP 2.0, which is like the enterprise distribution of it from Upbound for Crossplane. It might be known as a very tricky tool to use from the CNCF ecosystem, but with AI assistance there, I think it's going to get a lot easier to people to use. And there's other initiatives across the cloud native ecosystem where these kind of building tooling is being built. So, and Kubernetes itself is not maybe known as the easiest thing to ever to use. So all of these things I think will help definitely get new users adopted, as well as existing users to get the most out of their Kubernetes and Crossplane and any other CNCF tooling that they're using.
Yeah, Google released an open source tool called kubectl AI, which is a command line kind of AI chat interface that you can use. And it's specifically geared toward using kubectl. So I use it, for example, when I'm interacting with a Kubernetes cluster and I can't remember what the kubectl command is for doing something. I can ask kubectl AI, and it has taught me some really interesting things. And I think that's another very interesting area of AI is its potential as a learning tool. And it looks like we do have a question here. Any tips and best practices on enforcing policies on a cluster level for MCPs, guardrails, etc., built in Kyverno and the like? Or are there specialized solutions that you know of for policies on the cluster level for MCP servers? Go ahead, Liana.
Yeah. So you asked, so I'm gonna say it. So
Dive in.
So in terms of the solution that I have built, Sunny Labs. So basically what Sunny Labs is able to do is actually able to detect if somebody is trying to do some kind of context manipulation or something that, again, you do not want to happen. So it is for afterwards, making sure that when the MCP servers are actually running, that what are they doing? Are they doing what they should be doing, or are they doing something that is essentially out of your policies? So yes, I would say if you want to speak to me afterwards around sunnylabs.ai, so that's my solution. I would say that this is a new space, that there are overall, though, just so I'm not just plugging my solution, that solutions are starting to be built up. However, I'd say that this is very much in the early phases of what is possible in terms of security for MCP. So definitely, yeah. Yeah, you can go for my solution. Super easy to include. So yeah.
And we're right about at time, but we have one more question. So let's talk a little bit about this. If I said enterprise shadow AI, would you know what I mean? Is it a real problem? How do we control it? Who wants to dive in on shadow AI? Arun first, and then we'll go to
Yeah,
Leon.
we've had shadow marketing, shadow IT, shadow AI. So in this early stage of a technology, and even in mature stages, like IT and marketing, there's already a shadow IT running, shadow marketing running in an org. So is that constant tussle that I talked about earlier? If the platform engineering is not gonna embrace that, recognizing that developers really care about that speed, and if they're not having that dialogue, that's where you'll see the break off. Developers saying, oh, you know what, these platform engineering guys, they're not supporting my cause. I'm going to run my own shadow AI, and I'm going to start releasing by myself. So I think it ultimately comes down to the communication and kind of bringing it all together, because end of the day, think about the competition is outside the company, not inside the company. So if you have that mindset, if you have that mentality, then shadow AI should not really exist. It's okay to maybe bootstrap it, get it going, but then eventually hand it over to platform engineering team so that they can actually start scaling it for others.
And we're a minute over, but Liana, give us a quick response and we'll wrap things up.
Yeah, so this is something that I've heard a lot about. So essentially, like one way that I define shadow AI is when AI is being used without potentially the organization's knowledge. So that could be like the example that I said earlier. If you're going on ChatGPT and you're potentially putting in some of your data in there or the company's data without the company knowing, that could lead to some really bad consequences. And there's been several stories of this happening. So I know that this happened to Samsung, where a few of its employees actually put in data from Samsung, and then that was shared with OpenAI. So there are some practices in there would be to best practices for this is to mandate the AI tools that your employees can actually use. So, for example, if you are using OpenAI, or if you're using Google, that you're using the enterprise versions of these, and that these are accessible to everyone within your organization. So that's one way to make sure that they're not going to another tool when potentially leaking your sensitive data there. And yeah, this is definitely, I think, a really big problem, and it may eventually turn into the way that we look at phishing within the security space, where there will have to be a lot of education for the workforce about what are best practices, what AIs can you use versus which ones you can't, as well as tools as well.
I think that's exactly it, Liana. It's definitely happening, and we've got to put in place what technical guardrails we can and definitely upskill the whole workforce on what the dangers are with using AI. So thank you so much, Arun, Liana, and Annie. And I'll give it back to our hosts, Danielle and Lisa.
I was gonna
Sorry
say,
for not getting
how
you
did
back
we
on
do?
time.
No, this is amazing. That was amazing. And y'all sound great. You look great. That was just like very cool thought leadership from all of you experts. Really appreciate it. The panels are always my favorite part of Cube Crash, and this was no exception. So thank you very much for agreeing to do it. Caslin, I think first time Cube Crasher as well, and everybody on this panel. But I like this talk a lot. I think we should maybe submit this for KubeCon for,
EU's open. EU's open.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll get back on that one. But yeah, it was so good. We need more. All right.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everyone.